What's going on, people? Welcome to Spoiler Alert for The Order 1886. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
The Order.
Ooh, got a fancy book. Got Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Got Kristen. I've never said your last name before. Corella, right?
Yep.
Hi, Kristen Corella. And we got my man, Anthony Nash.
What's up, everybody?
All right, so we're going to talk about the worst game to be released ever, The Order 1886. According to some people, I don't even really know where to go with this. It's, this is one of those games where we have to talk about it because it's easily the most talked about game out there. Whether you like it or hate it, it's on everybody's lips right now. I'm going to start off with my initial impressions. I loved it. I thought it was great. It gave me what I wanted, what I knew I was going to get. A cinematic game with a lot of shooting and werewolves and stuff. I got an extra surprise with the penises. That was good. But other than that, yeah, I thought the game was
Aim
good.
for the werewolves and you stayed for the penises.
There you go, man. That's what it's all about. All right. All right, Manny, quick impressions.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game. Just like anything, just like any start of a series, there's little bits of problems here and there. But I liked the game, and I knew I was going to like the game. When I played it all the way at E3, I thought it was a decent title.
Yeah, and Chris, what about you? Because I know you were really excited for this game, man.
Hey, look, I'll say this right now. It's the best looking game on the consoles to date. It's the best fucking looking game out.
That's true shit.
Yeah, that's no lie. It's the best looking game. The story is fucking phenomenal. I don't give a shit what anyone says. The story is fantastic. I love the universe they set up, the alternate timeline. Nikola Tesla's the fucking man. I love that shit. Yeah, monsters. They got werewolves. You got vampire. You got vampire peepees hanging out. It's great. I mean, what else do you want? And guns like you wouldn't believe.
Vampire peepees. What else?
I mean, hell, I played Star Trek the game, and phasers don't match up to the fucking arc gun.
Yes, man.
So yeah, I love it.
All right, Kristen, quick thoughts.
I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it probably more than I thought I was going to. It was incredibly well done. It was well written. It was thoughtfully made. It was gorgeous to look at. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. Probably one of the best looking games I've ever played, if not, as of right now, the best looking game I've ever played. Very tense. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I wanted to find out what happened. It was really, really fun. Not that it's a perfect game. It's not, but I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun experience.
Nice. And Nash, I know you were hyped for this game too. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Chris and I really enjoyed it at E3. I don't know.
You guys wouldn't shut up about it.
I don't think that I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was definitely a lot of fun. A lot of parts of it were kind of like generic-y, but I thought the story had a lot of promise. I hope that they do, a sequel to it. But the design. I mean, obviously the game's gorgeous. The character and the costumes, the weapons designs, those were all awesome. So, I mean, hopefully we get to see more of it in the future.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some of the details. So let's go with what they tried to do with this game, Ready at Dawn. And remember, let's give a little bit of history of Ready at Dawn. These guys, they made a Jack game for the PSP. They made the God of War games, Chains of Olympus.
Daxter game.
Yeah, Daxter.
Yeah, it's a Daxter game.
Daxter, Chains of Olympus, and Ghost of Sparta, which were phenomenal.
And they also ported Okami.
Yeah, and they also ported the God of War games to the PS3 as well. Their own games.
They did. So this was their first real console game that they had full control over.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And Manny and I, we've been talking up these guys for years now. We're like, they're going to get theirs, and they did. They, as far as I'm concerned, they knocked it out of the park. Go ahead, Manny.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, we were just like, wow, if they could do this with PSP games, what can they do with a console game? So it's like, and especially if it's their own thing, which makes it even better. So yeah. I mean, it's definitely The Order is a really well put together game.
Yeah, and you can tell what they were trying to do is they wanted to make like an interactive movie, but even more so because it's because let's take the Telltale games for example. They're pretty much interactive movies too, but when you get into those gunfights, it's still quick time events. This one is no, here you go. Here's the gunfights all right there. And I love the way it blended everything. It's you could just be playing and then it'll go into cinema and then it'll go right back into gameplay seamlessly. And do you want to get into that part real quick? Because I'm let's talk about it. The game has no loading, like at all. Like how you guys do that?
Yeah, there's no loading, and then there's they also said at least one of the programmers said that there's no latency. All of their effects happen with zero latency. So all those crazy effects that they have, the shimmers and all that stuff that happens on their clothing, all that other stuff that the extra post processing that happens, it gives the color palette to the game. It all happens without any sort of latency, and there's no real loading. There's no real loading times in the game.
Yeah, and then obviously that helped with the whole cinematic quality because there's nothing. There's no like, okay, stop loading. You didn't see a little thing turning, anything like that. It just kept going. And I think they did that just so you wouldn't be taken out of the experience.
It's like the Uncharted games where they have that. You remember old Uncharted games have those really long intro loading times where it literally plays you the whole Uncharted theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
nothing like that here.
Now, even like I've been asked you about Last of Us because I've never played Last of Us on PlayStation 4. Like, did it still have that initial loading time from the beginning? Yeah.
Yep. It's still huge. I mean, like, granted, once you start playing the game, you don't see that anymore. But yeah, when I booted up the order, it was the same thing. I started. I'm expecting it to be go on forever. I pressed X, and then the game started. I'm like, oh. Okay, and it's not hiding behind like a video. There's no video in this at all. It's all like in game,
Yeah, a lot of what video game companies do is they hide all of their loading behind a video. So they're running the video while the game, running the video directly off the disc, and then they're loading up all the the back, all the stuff underneath it.
Yeah, nothing like that here. So I thought that was good. So yeah, that helped, with the whole cinematic approach. And then obviously, on that field, they definitely did do it well. Like I know people say, like, oh, they take too much control away from you. It's like, no, you're in control most of the time. Like, granted, the game takes more control away from you than other games do, but again, that's what they're going for, and they did a good job of it.
Yeah, it does a really cool job of like, again, it's like. It throws you into a cinematic real quick, and then it throws you right back out again. So it's an interesting thing, because like most games, again, they'll throw you a cinematic, and then you got to wait for the actual game to load, and then after that.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about the blend of cinemas and shooting and all that stuff?
I wanted some more, man. So, like I was saying before, the fight in the London hospital was so good. Like when Galahad sees the guy eating the other dude, and he turns it to a werewolf, and then you have that hallway shot where you're shooting him, right? And then it keeps switching between the cinematic, like him chasing you, and then you fighting him, and then it goes back and forth. I wanted more of that. I especially wanted that at the end. I was a little disappointed with the Lucan fight, that it just went straight into the QuickTime, hack and slash instead of something like that where you fight through the Order Hall or something. I kind of wanted that, but I thought the library thing. I was like, man, that was so good. I want more of that shit. I mean, the hospital.
Yeah, you were telling me before the show how you actually replayed that a bunch of times.
It was so good. I was like, this is great. This is exact. It was so seamless. I was just like, I played over and over again, and then I was like, look at the story and stuff. So I played it again because I'm like, something important happened here. I gotta pay attention.
There's a speaking of that hospital sequence. There's a lot of little hidden things were in there, like like in one part of it, there's like a guy inside of one of the, like in
the cells, yeah.
In the cells, like you go into cells and they're like some of them are already open, some of them you have to open them up, and then there's just one random guy in there. Like, why is he in there? How come nobody killed that guy?
You look at him, but he doesn't say anything. He just looks at him. I'm like, can I talk to him? I don't know. All right.
Yeah, we'll get into that about some of the stuff. It's like, why am I picking this up? Kristen, what do you think about the blend between cinema and third-person shooting?
It's funny. It kind of took me by surprise a few times because I thought I was still in the cutscene, and then Chris would be like, "No, do the thing. You're in the game again." And I'm like, "Oh," like it would kind of take me by surprise a little bit. But in a good way, like that's really seamless, and it really brings you into the experience. Like you're in the moment, Like I remember back in the day, like kind of like when Resident Evil 4 did it, not as seamlessly, but that it was kind of a similar thing where you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just watching a cutscene, and then like, oh, you better press something, like jump back into it.
Yeah.
Not as seamless, but kind of a similar intention where it's like, don't think you're just sitting back watching a movie, like you're still involved in the game. So it was really cool. It was very well done. It was like putting a polish on what they started in those earlier games with those kind of things. So it was really cool.
Yeah, Nash, before I get to you, I want to jump on something you just said. Okay, Resident Evil 4, that was the first game I remember playing that actually kept the aspect ratio like that, where there's empty space on the top and bottom.
Letterboxing you?
Yeah, letterboxing, exactly. Like, people were complaining about this. I'm like, but Resident Evil 4 did it for the entire game, and no one complained about that. You know, so you're right about that, since it was letterboxed the entire time. Like, I kind of knew when it was back to the game again, because Galahad would just get all stiff, you know? But there were a certain point, I'm like, oh, shit, like, I'm getting shot, okay, this is happening again. You know, like, it was a really good, crazy blend. But yeah, you're right. Resident Evil 5 did it too, like, during the cinemas. Like, it would go to letterbox, but I'm like, man, why can't the whole game be like that? So I like that this game did the whole, like, thing, you know, did the whole letterbox thing too, going back to the cinematic end. They want to make you feel like you're in a movie. But Nash, what do you think about the blend of cinemas and third-person shooting?
I think there was only like one or two times where like I really didn't know when I was playing, because like you said on the throwdown the other day, like the game kind of like pans the camera around to kind of like get your attention that like it's time to play. But the scene when you're on the blimp, like I really didn't know that it was time to start scaling the blimp, because like it just didn't let me know anything. So I mean, they succeeded, I guess, with what they were trying to do, trying to like blend everything, because the game looks so good that it allows you to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, with the blimp scene, I did that for Polanco Place, and I was like, hey, look, I'm actually controlling it. 1 foot, another foot.
Yeah.
1 foot, another foot, just to show that, yeah, this is actually happening. But you're right, that blimp scene, like, if it wasn't for the prompt, like, hey, you can move now, I would have been like, you know. But yeah, I was cool. Let's get, before we get into more technical stuff, let's get into the story of it, because, you know, you start off as like a knight. Like, I guess like it's all descended from Arthur's knights and stuff, and some of them have been around for hundreds of years and stuff. And the whole world
I think
is
you're
like,
still a member of like the Order of the Round Table, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
like,
you're a knight of the Round Table.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
and then
are,
you
like,
just kind of just lived.
Yeah, like your guy is like named Galahad, but he's obviously not the Galahad. His actual name is Grayson. And all of them are like that. Percival, he's not the original Percival. Lady Igraine's not the original one. You know, all these guys are just taking names and stuff. They're just titles.
That part kind of threw me off for a little bit, because there were times where they would use their knight name, and then there were times where they would call each other by their real name, and I was like, okay, well, what? I don't.
It's like a superhero thing. It's like Cyclops, Scott. You know, same thing. That's how I saw it.
You know what? It's funny. The Kingsman movie is actually somewhat about that, a very similar situation where they're this kind of secret spy organization, and they're all based on the Knights of the Round Table. So the main character that you see always in the Kingsman commercials, his name is Galahad.
Ah, okay.
Nice. But yeah, the game doesn't, you know, and this a little bit of what kind of irks me. It's like it doesn't tell you when some of these things change. Like, when is the time where like, okay, this is actual history. This is when shit changed. Because it's 1886, but it's been like that for hundreds of years.
I almost think that it's all changed. I don't think there is any real divergence point, because, as you know, I just think that just being that they had maybe having this war with these inhuman creature things, maybe technology had to kind of advance itself because of it.
Well, yeah,
you could have had a good divergence point being maybe like Tesla being the one that succeeds in life, instead of Thomas Edison, and then maybe like he goes on to invent like all this other crazy shit.
But it's obvious that the divergence point happened hundreds of years before that.
Right.
Yeah. But Nikola Tesla never really did fail. The only part that he really failed in was actually just patenting all of his devices.
Right.
Like Edison had a much stronger company than he did. Nikola just wanted to give these things out. It's like, all right. I mean,
yeah.
But he officially did succeed. He just died.
Yeah. Well, he succeeded and was recognized for it like way too late.
Yeah, I mean,
posthumously.
Well, I mean, he was recognized then, but I think it's just one of those things, you hear about Edison, and, a lot of things came from Edison's company, but really he was just kind of a douche who just stole people's
He
inventions.
just patented everything, yeah.
Yeah, he just
See, that was
patented everything.
one of the problems that I had. Like, I'm sure we'll get into more of it later, but like, it was really cool to see Tesla in the game, and then they don't really do much with him aside from him just being like around. Like in Assassin's Creed, they had like Da Vinci, and he was like a prominent character, and he was like doing all the stuff for you, and you did stuff for him, but Tesla was just sort of like there.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with a few of the characters in the game. But
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There's not a lot of development. There's not, other than the fact of, Nikola Tesla existing in history and you kind of knowing his history, there's not really that much development behind the character.
I was happy that he was in the. I thought that when you first see him, and then you just sort of like get to look around his lab, and then that's it. I thought that would be it. But I'm glad that he's there, and it seems like he's going to be in sequels. If they do sequels, he'll be like a part of what's going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
The alternate universe reminded me of remember in Fringe, the alternate universe with like the advanced tech and all that stuff. I was like, oh my god, it's like the Fringe verse, like except like you guys said, I don't think there was a definitive like split in the timeline. It's just things develop differently over time, but. Especially with the airships, it totally reminded me of that. I don't know if those guys are fans of the show or whatever, but if they were, like, that would be a really cool little, like, nod to that idea.
Maybe, like, this game takes place in the universe of that alternate Fringe. They just kept the blimps going.
That would be hilarious.
That would be awesome. But yeah, so, going to the story of the game, so, yeah, you're a knight of the round table, you're fighting, your main task is to fight these werewolves, the half-breeds. But you're fighting the rebellion. I guess the rebellion against the British Empire, which never happened in real history. There was never a rebellion against the British Empire. And then, like, the India Company gets involved in there. The typical, like, corporations are evil. Then you find out they're harboring vampires and all this other crazy shit. Here's the thing. I like the story, but some of the shit could have been expanded on, especially with the world. It's like, okay, you got Tesla here. You don't really utilize them very well, and you have all this deep history that you could easily scatter around and stuff, but they don't go into it too much.
That's one of the issues I've had with the game, where you have all of these objects everywhere, like newspapers and stuff, where you can read. If you look close enough, you can actually read a lot of the text on there, but there's no way you can actually get up close and look at it really close to see what a lot of that stuff is, because I'm sure most of that stuff is a lot of world building, but the thing is that it's just presented in such a way where you can't just kind of like, hey, can I look at this a little closer and explore this a little bit more? I mean, there's all these letters and things all over the place that you find that you really can't read. So what's the reason? Why do you pick them up? It's not to be, me and Tony were talking about this before. It's like, it's not because they're just cool. It's not because, hey, this is a piece of paper. Usually, there's some sort of background behind. If you in any game, if you put something in there that you can maybe pick up or something, there is maybe some importance to it, and it, in a lot of ways, sometimes can tell a big, expand a universe just by a couple of different things.
Yeah, like with the papers, I completely agree with you. I'm like, okay, that says something important, but I can't see it. But I still think half of the other stuff where it's like, hey, look, here's a hammer. Look how cool we made a hammer in this game.
No, I don't think it's just a hammer. I think it's for that situation, like from what is going on there, it's maybe supposed to tell a slightly larger narrative. It's like, okay, there's some sort of construction going on here.
I think
that's the sort of things that I'm thinking that they are.
There are games that do that now, where like Destiny is one of them, where you don't find stuff in the game, but like you progress and unlock like cards that you can read, and it's like they don't expand on the story in the game. They expect you to like go out and like research the world instead of just putting it in the game that you're playing, which is like a bit of a problem because the Order has a lot of cool stuff that they just don't either they don't explore, or like you said, maybe it's in like a newspaper that like you could easily miss if you're not exploring the game. So it's like you're missing out on things just because you can't find them in the game instead of them just being in the game.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's nothing to reference. Unlike Destiny, there's nothing to reference. There's no site I can go to check out this other.
Well, there actually is.
Like there is like Yeah.
There's
Someone
a-
was
there's
like,
a-
hey, you saw that note? Like, here's what it actually says.
No, they don't. Not that stuff, but there is a older website that has a lot of their little research stuff. Like you can be a little bit deeper about certain things, but they don't go into how this stuff works. I'm holding up a file of the.
Uh-oh, he got the Blackwater.
Blackwater.
Oh, see, the
But, yeah,
Blackwater
they
was
don't-
another thing that.
Yeah, they don't go in exact detail as to what the Blackwater is, and even
Yeah,
in the story, it's still
I think it's
very
just your blood.
mysterious.
It's just like, hey, look, here's a vial that has a little bit of like fountain of youth stuff and a lot of your blood.
Yeah, I
And
think you're just
yeah.
drinking your blood by the
Well,
time.
it's Grail water. It's
Okay, yeah, the Holy Grail.
that
Yeah.
was, remember when he ordained Lafayette?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he drinks the water and then he says that only your blood can refill this.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're being sanctified by the Grail water.
So you're just drinking your blood the whole time.
Yeah, it's
So
blood
aren't
of
you a
Christ.
vampire?
No, it's blood of Christ. It's it's the
It's
everlasting.
Demon Knight. It's the same thing
it's
as
that,
Demon
Yeah,
Knight.
Demon Knight. That's a good reference.
You're
Yeah.
sanctified, so now your blood is holy, and then you now create the black water from your own blood.
Right. I just wish I knew how they keep getting the blood in there, because it seems like every time they get hurt, they just drink it, but you never see them like putting blood in
Squeezing
or,
some of their
or
blood
getting
in
any
there.
blood in there. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
you only
they
have to
didn't
do it
expand on
once.
Like I said, there's some stuff in the game. I'm like, why don't you expand on that? Like, it's like you're seeing all this stuff through like a gilded cage in a way, you know?
Yeah, it's like they
oh
said-
shit, what's that?
They set up this big stuff, but it's like the stuff with the United India Company, right? Like when he goes in that room in the hospital and he sees all the fake uniforms and the maps, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to look at papers. And obviously there was supposed to be more at the papers because they actually put fake papers. Like, you notice he shuffles papers around and go, I don't know, and then he moves on.
Yeah,
It's
like you.
why put-
I didn't even know how you would know to look for what you're looking for.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. I said, dude, how do you know that paper you just threw to the side isn't important? You
Yeah, I
know?
click on
yeah.
every trigger, and then he will shuffle stuff around, and then stuff he'll pick up. I'm like, I can't read that. Flip it over. What does it mean? Yeah. He doesn't say anything.
There are
So
even some papers that have like handwritten notes on the back that I'm like, oh, does that mean like, what is happening? Like, are they like writing code to each other?
yeah,
But
Yeah.
there's
There's none of that, and there's no commentary on it. Only
Yeah.
later on when he starts picking up newspapers, he's like, "Oh, I remember when that happened," you know.
It's like, so there's big holes in the lore. We don't know enough about
Yeah.
Tesla.
I
We don't
think-
know enough about the company. We don't know enough about the order. Only the little bit we see, which some of it's kind of is a little bit boring. Like that whole thing where they were discussing whether to go after the company or not, and that was
Yeah.
like that dragged out, and the old man was like, "No." All right, Grandpa's needs to take a nap, and then they decided, okay, he's taking a nap. We're just gonna do this shit anyway. Fuck what he says.
I guess if there is a website, I mean, it's probably still not the exact same.
It's
as
not.
Destiny, but
No,
It's
it's
not. It
it's.
should be-
it's
it-
silly that it's not in the game, and it's
It
like
doesn't have. Well, I mean, there's an extras menu in the actual game.
Thank you, mate. I was just about to get it. So there's extra menu. Why not throw all that shit in there?
Yeah, like as
the extras menu just has the credits. That's all.
It has the credits, which is kind of stupid.
And,
Yeah.
and by the way,
Credits run for like
too many
25
games do that. Every game does that shit now. But here's the thing. Here's the way I would make sense to me. You pick up a hammer, right? And then in your extras thing, hey, let's talk about how these guys build shit. You know, that's what would have made more sense. But instead, you just picking up stuff just because it's cool looking. You know, it's like, oh look at this crazy looking watch. Watch
No,
that before.
I don't think it's cool looking. I mean, half that stuff is just
No,
like.
man, that shit is cool looking.
No, is a hammer really cool looking? It was just a blocky hammer. Come
No,
on.
it's just like, hey, look at this.
No,
This looks
when
cool.
he picked up the gun and there was like this cool flask and this lighting. I know it was like tech dome stuff. It's like, look how shiny it is. I was like, ooh, this is shiny. I was like, is this LA Noir? Am I gonna flip it to the key point of the
Yes.
object and like
I
find
wanna
the
do
feel-
that, too.
I feel like in general some of that stuff is left over from some sort of gameplay that they decided to leave out of the game.
Yeah,
That
Yeah,
there
I
is some.
think.
if you were to pick up stuff, at least have something in a codex like, hey, this is what it means. You know,
Mhm.
I think
That'd
they
be
just
fine.
wanted to show off how cool it is to be able
that's
to
what
pick
I think.
stuff up.
Hey, think like, hey, look at that.
Not how cool the item is, but like the way you pick it up. You just kind of pick it up and look it around and flip it over. They were just, oh, maybe look what we came up with, guys. Like,
Yeah.
you could do this cool stuff.
while the story was good, I think they focused on too much of like the order stuff, which didn't lead anywhere, and they didn't do enough with like, okay, you go into Whitechapel and there's obviously Jack the Ripper stuff there, right? But
Yeah,
you
they
don't
don't-
really, and just
don't go
forget
into
about that. Yeah, they don't go into any of that until the end, where it's like Lord Hastings like, ho
Oh,
sorry you
I'm
saw me
Jack the
naked.
Ripper."
I'm Jack. I'm Jack the Motherfucker's so casual about it. He's like, yep, Jack the Ripper. That's what they call me.
Yeah, it seems like they definitely tried to tie up a bunch of stuff like real quick at the end. or like even with the vampire stuff, it seems like they didn't really know what to do with like the whole, because it was obvious that like something was going on in the Order, like early on in the game. It was like, oh, well, maybe not everyone is like who they say they are in the Order, but then like it seems like maybe they didn't know where to go with the werewolves and the other stuff, and they were just like vampires, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
and
have-
why are vampires working with werewolves? Aren't they supposed to be like mortal enemies or
I
something?
mean, why are
I
vampires
don't
not
know.
even referenced in the game until
Well-
they're the bad guys?
I guess they're just spreading because the implication I got was that United India Company is basically run by vampires and werewolves, and they are going all over the world. Like
Right.
the whole thing with the Agamemnon is like, oh shit, we got to stop it from heading to America because they're gonna go over there and we're gonna have another problem.
Right.
But now other than that, it wasn't clear. Like, what are they
I mean, it
planning to
wasn't
do?
clear that there were vampires in the game until she was like, "Guess what? They're the big bad guys! Oh my god!"
And then
Yeah.
they also never also go into any sort of thing where, because they said that the werewolves were helping the resistance somehow, and then all of a sudden they're not. You know what I mean?
That might have
that's
just
what
been
they
like
thought.
propaganda, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, I
but-
think it was just bullshit on their part. They were,
Yeah.
you know,
And
then, I mean, like,
the resistance was trying to stop the werewolves. you know?
Yeah.
They definitely put a lot of like like what like Manny said, where it's just like, or Chris said too, like where you're just seeing them like have like counsel with each other, where it's like there's a lot of like political stuff that doesn't really go anywhere at the end of the game, and then at the end of the game you start to like, they're just like, oh, we mentioned Jack the Ripper once, I guess this guy's Jack the Ripper now. Okay, we're done that. Like, check that off.
Yeah, because there was only one instance where it was like they actually literally talk about Jack the Ripper, but wouldn't it have been awesome if you actually were you actually find some of the Jack the Ripper things in there? Like, in other words, you walk through one of the crime scenes of Jack the
Yeah.
Ripper.
Well,
Well,
I
that would have to
something
be
like
like
that.
a free roaming game at that point.
That's where they needed that's where they would have needed to open the game up, like
Yeah.
like Nash said. They would have needed a choice. Like Galahad finds a fucking murder, right, Jack the Ripper, and he works and he decides, okay, I'm gonna work with Commissioner Doyle here, and we're gonna figure out what the fuck happened, right? Because this is important. And then maybe it leads him to, wow, this is obviously supernatural because like no man can do this, and that would have been interesting, but they just forgot about it all the way till the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to talk about Arthur Conan Doyle over on him because Manny was actually breaking down how he figured everything out, as he would because he created Sherlock Holmes. You
Yeah,
know?
he actually sets all of them off to Whitechapel. He goes to them. He's like, listen, like you, Chris, you saw it. He's like, listen, you see this right here? You know, like he pulls up one of these chains that they had. He's like, there's just too much of a coincidence here. All these guys are coming from Whitechapel. All this stuff is happening over there, and then there's the Ripper murders. There is something going on over there. You guys got to check it out. And then what's his face goes, oh yeah, well, you know, bring it to the court and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Conan Doyle couldn't get them to go.
Yeah, because of the old man. Brrr.
Yeah.
You know, every game,
Order.
every story has that the stalwart guy who's always like hard on his conventions. No, it will hurt the order, and then you find out he was harboring a werewolf the entire time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like dude, you're a fucking hypocrite. You know,
Yeah.
Right, and we have the perfect analogy. Now that Galahad is practically Batman,
he's Batman.
then Commissioner Doyle, Commissioner Gordon, what was that relationship? They
You're
didn't
studying
even.
a Batman.
There was some cool historical, like real historical stuff buried in the game too. Like Manny, you pointed out that also the East India Trading Company was a real thing. That was an actual thing that was a big deal at the time because they were opening up all these trade routes with places most people had never been to or heard of before. Obviously, Whitechapel's a real place in London. It was kind of, you know, it really was a
big
horrible
old
slum.
slum.
Yep, it was horrible. You did not want to go there. Obviously, Tesla, and also there was a really, really quick little tidbit towards the end of the game where I think they were in the library at the end and they were talking about the trading company, and they mentioned a ship called the RMS Oceanic, which was a real ship. It was a passenger liner that used to go between I think Britain and America. But it was kind of interesting that they went and found really like kind of obscure history stuff and stuck it in there, and it kind of shows. I think the game really shines in the level of detail, like just down to the writing, like everything else aside, like they really did their homework. The London hospital, I looked up photos to see how accurate it was. It was spot on, exactly, at least the exterior, exactly what it looked like in the day. Like, they really did their homework with that stuff, so I really kind of appreciated that.
Yeah, but that's where the aggravation comes from. You could tell they did so much research, but you don't see enough of it. Like, aside from like, hey, look at the way this shit looks. Like, you didn't see enough of that. Like, it would have been nice if when you picked up a note, it's like it goes into your inventory and you could read it later.
Sure.
Yeah. Like you said, look how, like, just looking at the game, like, yeah, they kind of went all out, but you didn't see much of it, you know.
That's why I hated the phonographs. Like
yeah.
most of them were worthless. Like there was like recording.
One was just like a song.
Yeah,
one was a song. Yeah, I would skip them. Like, is this guy singing? All right, I'm out. Like,
You know what my problem with those were too is that like in games like BioShock where, that obviously wasn't first invented in BioShock, but like you picked up like a thing in BioShock and then you could just play it while you were walking around.
And you know what's worse than that?
Yeah.
The order made you stop the game to listen.
There's a speaker right there on the controller where you could play from. It didn't work. I'm like, wait,
Right.
what?
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
they made you stop. Like I said.
Yeah, they made you stop, and it's like, why do I have to stop when every game that has done that on a PS4, this is not even going back that far, does it through the headphones right there. It's like, just play.
I mean, even Shadow of Mordor, when you, they make you stop to listen, but it plays through the controller.
Yeah, they should have done
I don't
that.
understand why they can't. I don't
How
understand
about
why they pause
Dying
to.
Light? Dying Light did that, where
Same
everybody
thing.
radios you, the radio goes to the controller.
Yeah, they should have done that. That's very weird. I don't know. It's like there's a PS4 exclusive, and it's not using an exclusive feature.
Well,
You
I mean,
know?
it was also up to the studio themselves. I mean, they could have easily just put that, put that all into like, when you hit the big, the big touchpad, you could easily have just put that like as soon as you get one of those sound things. But again, the sound things don't exactly do that much. Some of them are like, what I call Comstock, entries where it's like, we must, reunite all of London, so that stuff, and then there's like weird shit.
I mean, even I don't even care that it's not through the PS4 controller, but just to maybe press right on the D-pad to listen.
Yeah.
Instead of pause the game and then listen to it. And it's like it doesn't even pertain to the story. It's just
most of it is
it's like a song.
bullshit. Yeah.
And it's like, why do I want to listen to like a lullaby song? Like, no, I'm just gonna I collected it. Circle.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go back to
agree.
the game.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like, okay, maybe the songs have some historical reference or something.
I mean, I'm
Cool.
sure that the songs are maybe like real songs or something, but again, it's like it doesn't matter because it's not like it doesn't matter in the game anymore. It's just there to be there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what does it add really? It's
Yeah.
kind of just there.
Yeah, it's weird. I want to get
That's what's
into.
aggravating about it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get into some of our favorite moments in the actual game and story. For me, the one that sticks out is the blimp scene. Like, that whole thing is just crazy to me. It's like you're on this crazy blimp, you're having crazy shootouts, and there's like cool effects with the explosions and stuff, and then the way that all ends. I thought that was fantastic. I really liked that, and I did that on the video, and I replayed it again. I'm like, this is fun. I like this. It's really cool. And Chris, I already know what your answer is, as you already said.
Well, yeah, it was amazing. My favorite part is like I wanted to get in that escape, the little escape life.
And
boat
go off
they
with
have.
it?
Yeah, no, because it looked like a ride at an amusement park. Like they pull
Yeah.
the lever and the thing just shoots out and a parachute opens. Like, goddamn, you better hope that
wanted-
parachute
yeah.
opens.
Like, I wanted something like, okay, shit, the blimp's about to go down. Get into one of those, but it didn't happen. That would have been awesome.
Yeah,
Although, by the way, that's my favorite scene in the game, but it also weirds me out the most. It's like, so these guys all survived a blimp crash. Like, they all survived. That's amazing. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they
you
don't
take
really
the-
explore that the blimp crashes. It's just sort of like you wake up on like an on-fire blimp.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like-
it's like, oh shit, we just fucked up his entire block. Okay.
Yeah, well, Galahad blew up and then survived the blimp crash, so that was
Yeah.
even more
Yeah, that's
impressive.
true.
Then Percival died. Rest in
Yeah,
peace. You know?
I like there was a red herring Percival. There was another
Yeah,
older
the
guy
one
that
you
you
turn
pick
over,
up and
yeah.
you flip over, and it's a guy in a beard, and it's like, wait, that's not Percival, that's some other
Yeah.
older guy.
I
Who cares
thought
about
too.
that
I'm
dead
like,
guy?
yeah, it's like, oh, wait, I thought you were someone else.
Oh,
All right, I guess rest in peace. Bye.
Oh man. Hey, Manny. So, what was your favorite scene in the game?
I did like the exploration of the underground with the lights, where they had those kind of like I think it was in the hospital or something like that, and they had those big lanterns, and I thought that was really cool. They did a lot of nice. The whole hospital sequence I thought had a lot of nice atmosphere to it, and really kind of make you feel like spooked out by it, and I thought that was a cool one. And the underground stuff.
Yeah, that was good. Kristen, what was your favorite part of the game?
I liked so much of it, but I really enjoyed just going through Whitechapel because I was like, this is really depressing that people lived like this. Like it was done really well. Like
it looked like a war zone.
It did. It's kind of like you would actually imagine like when they were bombing the shit out of London in later. That's kind of what you would imagine it looked like, but they did an amazing job. I mean, like. The level of detail there was fantastic, and I also really enjoyed going in the hospital. I thought that was really well done because it's kind of hard, like to make that look right. You have to make sure you have like accurate medical equipment and stuff.
Yeah. And then there was that room with the I guess the medical oddities, and they had them all inside of the glasses. So So it's like it had like a weird fetuses and like brains. And on the wall they had other things displayed.
When you go kind of to the downstairs and you see the asylum part, that was incredibly creepy because again, like something that really happened. Like they would kind of just throw anybody into places like that, and like you said, like the guy kind of just sitting there alone, like that is really creepy. It was very atmospheric.
I was saying to Jossie, my girlfriend, I was like, we were in this asylum place, and literally there's poopy on the ground, and I stepped in it.
Yes.
There's one of those poop chairs that looked like a poop chair.
They
and
had
it like doodle all over it.
Yes. When we were playing, we were looking at it. We were like, "Is that what I think it is?"
Because those mofo's are so crazy, they got to strap them into the toilet so they could go.
Yeah,
man, it's doo-doo.
It's doo-doo. Yeah, there was a bucket of doo-doo there.
Oh, man.
It was smeared on the wall, right?
It was all on the wall.
It was all on the wall.
Gross.
Nasty. Nash, what was your favorite scene of the game, man?
I think probably the hospital was probably the best scene with the like what Chris said when you first come upon the werewolf and he's going all crazy and transforming. But I think even that like goes back to like aggravation a little bit because like I don't mind quick time events. Like I don't really I don't dislike them as much as like other people seem to dislike them. But I just wish that the werewolf fights were a little more I wish they made them seem a little more intimidating, because the werewolf fights were kind of like underwhelming for like really the whole game, and like I was hoping
that was very disappointing. I agree with that.
Like the werewolves were supposed to be like this crazy intimidating thing, and then you fight them and it's just sort of like, okay, dodge, shoot them, and then just like press triangle and they're dead.
Yeah, and it's always like in a freaking like a warehouse
with like a bunch of like creeps,
Yeah,
like, okay,
the first confrontation with any werewolf was just like you're in that warehouse room or like in the underground area, and all they're doing is just running back and forth. I'm like, this is silly.
Yeah, I thought the fight with the elders were pretty cool, with the strong and like heavy and weak attacks. That was pretty cool, but the regular werewolves were just kind of like meh. So what I was kind of hoping for in this game would be like a little like Resident Evil, where it's like you didn't know who was a werewolf or not. So like it just like in Resident Evil 5, where it's like it randomly like one of those fucking guys would just freak out and their head would turn into that big snake thing, or they turn into that fucking clam shit that would eat you. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
They needed Tesla should have invented the McCready blood test.
Yeah,
you just inject it. It's like I gotta check your blood. Oh shit.
A monster you are.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have been cool. Like, in other words, you not only have to deal with normal human beings, but you also have to deal with like fucking werewolves in there somehow too.
Yeah, I just wish that they even the werewolves that they were around more, because it seems like they were only there like 3 or 4 times in the whole game, and I was expecting once you got underground before you got into the hospital, I was really expecting a lot of like werewolf stuff. Even the scene where you see the patient in the room, I was expecting like there to be like somebody on the other side when you pull open the eye hole, like somebody to be there, like waiting for you or like to spook you or something.
Yeah, they just reminded me of those freaking necromorphs in, was it Dead Space 3, where they charge at you? They like run around the boxes and they look at you and they charge at you.
Yeah.
That's what I felt those werewolf fights were. It's like, oh, it's like those, except you just dodge and shoot. They should have been way more brutal to take on. Like it should have been, every one of those fights should have been brutal.
Yeah, there should have been like highlights, all of them, you know. But you're right. It's like you're a member of this order that's supposed to kill werewolves, and you're mostly killing a bunch of dudes with bowler hats. Like I shot more bowler hats than I did werewolves in this game, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, some people said that the trophy's indicative of how many werewolves there actually are in the game because
Werewolves like kill 10.
Yeah, only 10 werewolves.
Kill 10 werewolves, so it's like, really?
Yeah, it's like, wait, what? Oh, by the way, I want to give an honorable mention to the scene in the bridge after after the rebels show up and after Percival dies. Like, Galahad is like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna kill all these motherfuckers.
Yeah, that was my.
He goes full Batman mode.
He went Rambo. That was no Batman. He picked. You go and pick up that rocket launcher.
That's like Batman if you kill like Robin or someone. He's just like, that's it, I'm gonna murder everyone.
Yeah, and like I know it's like 75 years too early, but it just reminded me of like World War II in a bit, the way the lighting was and stuff, and the smoke and shit. You know, it kind of reminded me of that. I love that scene. He just went crazy, and I had that arc gun too, like brah brah, I was killing all you motherfuckers.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
I was surprised at how fun the balloon scene was pretty cool, but I was surprised at how fun that stealth scene was. Like I was talking to Tony beforehand, and I don't like it when games try to like add things just to have them. Like in Far Cry, it's like you spend the whole game shooting animals in the face and shooting people in the face, and then it's like 3 of the missions are like, oh, don't get caught though, or else the mission's over. And it's like, well, that's not. The whole game's about shooting people. Like, why am I all of a sudden like Splinter Cell? Like, what am I doing here? But that part of the order was pretty cool.
Oh, the hedge mage and stuff.
No, the hedge mage I didn't like. The blimp stealth scene was really cool. The hedge mage part was annoying because it was like you die and there's so little checkpoints in the hedge mage.
Yeah. Oi, bam. It's like there'd be 3 guys. It's like, I didn't see you. Oi.
Wait, you know, I found this out last night. It was cool. Like, I found one guy and I stabbed him in the neck, right? And as I did that, oi! So I have my knife in this guy's neck, and then I get shot. It's like, okay, they thought about that. That's
it was like going against a clicker inside of in Last of Us. It was like they instantly kill you.
Oi! It was always like that. But that scene was cool because it wasn't true force stuff. It was like, I got a crossbow. Bam, 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 bam. Kill you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I ran out of bolts.
Yeah, they only give you 5 bolts.
No, they have 2 places. They have 2 places where you can pick them ammo.
I didn't find
know
either
that.
one of those.
Yeah.
I wasn't. In fact, the only one that I knew about was when I was leaving the one area to go to the other. I was like, "Fuck! I forgot to get that thing back there. Can I go back?"
Before the gate, right? Yeah, the one before the gate, right?
Yeah, one before the gate. Like if you turn around behind where the gate you go through there's bolts there, and I didn't have it. But you know, the game is actually smart, and it doesn't doesn't assume that you found those bolts because later on you have to shoot one of the. You know, save the Indian girl from one of the guards.
Yeah, and you get
and they automatically give you like 5 bolts.
Just have 5 bolts.
The hedge mage stealth scene was kind of annoying. The other stealth scene was pretty cool though because I think it was just because it was so short. Like you killed like 2 or 3 and then it was over. But with the hedge mage, it was like if you kill like 4 enemies and then that 5th gets you, it's all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying, but you just had to be careful. But yeah, you're right about that. But the stealth, I know, man, you didn't like it too much because it was like, okay, and I can stab you.
Yeah, it's like it was. I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was a little bit kind of silly. It's like, why does it really need to be, like a timed thing? I know that they're trying to do it for challenge because, like, if you do have it, you know, if you're like in Metal Gear where you can just kind of walk up to anybody and go, you know, it makes the sequence a little bit easier. But I felt like instead of throwing a little cheesy button prompt at that section, why couldn't they just let you try to get them, and then maybe they give you a quick time event as you're trying to get the guy. Like in other words, you try to stab the guy and the guy goes, "Ugh," and tries to.
That would have been way better. That killed me a bunch of times where I would just like press triangle either like a second too early or a second too late.
Yeah.
And I'd just be like, why? Just why?
Yeah, that whole scene was weird in the other sense. It's like why do you have to kill these guys? Just like
He's a mass murderer.
silence
That's
them.
all it
I
is.
was like,
He likes
well,
to kill
you don't
I don't
people.
have time for that. I have to kill him. I was like, you do have time. You have time to sneak around.
Yeah, Lucan's like, maybe we shouldn't kill. Nah, you gotta trust me. I gotta murder
And I'm
everybody.
like, son, I ain't got that kind of time, and I'm just gonna stab him in the throat. It's like, no, you don't.
I left a couple of those guys alive because it was just like it didn't need. Number one, I didn't have any bolts, and I was like, fuck, I can't get past this. I don't have any bolts, so I'm like, and I really suck at this timed button prompt. So I'm just gonna see if I can sneak past them, and I did a lot better that way.
Yeah, I did that for the end of the first sequence. There were like 2 guys left, and I was like, I don't even want to fail again, so we're done here.
Yeah, man, pretty much.
Plus, I guess they get to go home to their families because I didn't choose to just murder them all.
Well, they kind of do that twice. It's like, he's all appalled about how these guys are killing all these people, but yet no, he's murdering people left and right.
There was that one scene where he's like, where you go with the Indian girl, and you're like, well, we can't harm any innocents, and it's like, bro, you just like came out of like a hedge mage where you were just like, nah, we gotta kill literally everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah. And it was like, why do we have to kill him? Because we just no time. We have to kill him. It's like, okay, I don't get it. Let's talk about the quick time stuff, because I thought it was weird. I liked it, but I also didn't like it in this sense. I think games like, from Quantic Dreams kind of spoiled me. I kind of expect them to be like that, and I was like, hey, I kind of fucked up. Hey, you could do it this way now. But it was more involved than the usual, like, press X to win. It wasn't really like that for the most part. I thought they blended it in very well. And yes, people, QuickTime events are actual gameplay. I'm sorry that you don't believe that, but it's true. It's actual gameplay. But yeah, I think it served it, because remember, the reason QuickTime events like this is because you could do stuff in QuickTime events that you can't do in the actual game. You're always like set to like a specific amount of stuff, So I didn't mind that at all. And I thought overall, I had some problems with it sometimes. I thought it was well done. What do you guys think about the QuickTime events?
Well, at least they set the expectation for the QuickTime events. Like they were all throughout the game, right? It wasn't like Dying Light where you fight everything the way you want, and then you get
the boss.
And then he has the most unforgiving QuickTime battle ever since Krauser from Resident Evil 4. It's like you press up once you're dead. And I was so pissed off. I'm like, why the fuck is this here? Why can't I just chop this dude like I've been cutting everything else in the game for the last like 50 hours? That was just annoying. I
always think in general, final confrontations are like the hardest thing to do. Like,
yeah, because you want it to be like a cinematic moment, and then like you don't want to like take away from that by like having to fight. Like even in Shadow of Mordor, like the whole game you spend like taking over people and everything, and then the end is like a quick time sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's like in those games, it's like QuickTime that came out of nowhere. At least with the Order, when it happened at the end, it's like, man, I've been doing this shit the entire game.
I think that's precisely, at least we're talking about the ending. I think that precisely that is what killed that ending, because it was almost exactly a scene, almost an exact duplicate of what we did before. And I mean, even to the fact that the werewolf that you fight at the end almost looks exactly the same as the one you had before. Yeah. I would have wished that they would have made this moment a little more special than just kind of reusing the same animations and all that stuff over again for a very similar fight.
I think it was just there, all the well, not all of them. I mean, like, some of them are just there, I think, just because maybe they don't know how to, like, solve that confrontation. Like, maybe with, like, the Elder Wolves, they couldn't think of, like, a cool enough way to fight them. So they were just like, all right, we'll just press, like, L2, R2, and then that's it.
Well, no, I mean, that's fine, but you could have made it a little bit more involved in the previous fight. It was literally a clone of the previous fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
They wasted it because it's like, it's happening in Tesla's lab. There must be cool shit in there.
Yes!
To use it against him. But they just fight, he just pulls out his dagger, and they're just going...
I mean, well, that just goes back. I think Tesla was, like, super underutilized throughout, like, the whole game, really. Cause
you're right about that. It's like, this shit's happening in Tesla's lab. Like, why can't it be like, oh, shit, let me run over here now. Let me use this crazy thing against him.
Yeah, or like being able to throw them into one. There's that big electrical unit in the middle of the room. Like, why couldn't you just toss them into that? Like, really kind of make it movie-like. You know.
Yeah, it almost. But you notice in games, it always seems like they run out of time and they make the ending.
Yeah, like the final confrontation. Like, everybody loves the Uncharted 2, but come on, that
was a stupid one. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying everybody loves Uncharted 2, the game.
Okay.
But that final confrontation is like, nobody talks about that. It's like they don't talk. You don't talk.
You don't want to.
Well, that's like, I mean, like Halo 2 is like one of the, like, like the everyone loves that game, but the the end of that game where it's like super cliffhangery, and It doesn't really solve anything.
Yeah, like
the
you
third
end up literally it ends up you end up in that friggin'
in the ship, yeah, and he's just like, "Yo, I'm gonna go finish it."
Yeah, and
Coming
then
soon.
that was,
Yeah, see, you gotta do endings like Metal Gear, man. Those endings are always epic, you know. It's like Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid 4. Okay, we're gonna have two old guys beating the shit out of each other on top of a sub. Fantastic, you know.
But I mean, like the end of the order definitely made me. I was kind of like, because it didn't feel like it ended when you shot him. It felt like there should have been something after that.
Well, there was. We had the Batman moment, you know.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, like something like like real at the end of it, aside from just like, okay, wait till the next game.
By the way, that scene bothered me. I'm like, why are you listening to the old man? He just told you, okay, fuck you. You're kicked out of the order. Now shoot him. It's like, fuck you. I'm not gonna shoot him. He's gonna be my partner now, but he shoots him anyway. I didn't get that, you know.
I felt like he was maybe not going to shoot him for a second. I was like, he kind of looks like he might just walk away. You know, he kind of like, I mean, I know he hesitated, but he was kind of like, for a second, I really believed he wasn't going to do it.
I don't
was
know.
hoping he
I
was
thought
gonna
that
do
he
it.
would have been a vampire, Lucan. I don't know why he was a werewolf. I don't.
Well, Luke, actually, that was, by the way, that was a dead giveaway. Your name's Lucan,
Yeah.
and you're a fucking.
I
werewolf.
also the
just gave
biggest
up on that.
I think
They were,
I also think the big problem also is that they were trying to push that like, oh my god, you're my brother, I'll never kill you. But the thing is that I never trusted that guy all the way from the
Yeah,
beginning.
he was shady.
Yeah,
as
that
shit.
was
He's already pretty shady, so it's like, all right, so really?
That was the biggest problem when you go to the Lord Hastings' house, where he's like, "No, I'm not gonna tell like the people I actually like have gone on like life and death missions with. I'm gonna tell this random guy."
Yeah.
Who would, and it's like, "Oh, do you trust him?" "Oh yeah, with my life, definitely." Like, why? Why would you trust him over like the girl you obviously are in love with, or like a person that you consider like a brother and a father? Like, why would
Yeah.
you trust someone else over them?
Well, I don't know if we should trust her. Do you want to get into that theory real quick, Kristen? Because you have this really fun theory about her, about Igraine.
I had a theory, and I could be completely wrong, but there are 2 points in the game where she's breathing really hard, and it seems kind of out of place and weird, and I was like, this is odd. Games don't usually put stuff like that, that's kind of out of place for no reason. And I was thinking about it, and I was watching the second cutscene where she does it when she goes to the little safe house and she sees the bed, the blood-stained bed, and then she turns and looks at his shirt. And I'm thinking to myself, the first time she did that, she was kind of looking for him. And this time she's also looking for him. Is she sniffing for him? Like, she's kind of like looking around, and I was like, is she a werewolf too? Like,
Da, da, da.
You know what's even
Yeah.
crazier is that even him trusting her and then her being a werewolf would have been like infinitely better than
Yeah,
like,
I think
That would have been a lot better, yeah.
Yeah, like in other words, I think because you have that personal connection with her, it's like you saved her, you did all this stuff, and then the final battle is really between him and her.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
You
or
know,
not even between him and her, just between like for you to bring her instead of Lucan into like Lord Hastings' house, and then have her like betray you. That would have been.
That'd be awesome. That would be great. Yeah,
Unless
it
they're
tells you
saving it
after
for
that.
later.
Remember? Yeah. That's true. I mean, remember there was that scene where she was kind of like drugged up, and she was like, "Oh, we could move away together." It's like, "Oh, okay, that's it. There's something going on with these two."
yeah.
But yeah,
I
that
mean,
would've
they
been a lot
obviously had a thing for each other because
They have a
she was
history.
even she even when you were carrying her out, she mentioned like asking or like she said something about asking her father for permission
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something, and it
Yeah.
seems like there's definitely like a thing there.
Oh, but I'm Jack the Ripper.
well, that's not her father.
I know, but that scene was silly. It's like, really, dude? And why was he naked? Like I said before the show, it just seemed like, okay, we need to have more wieners in the game. It's like we used them a couple of times.
Maybe he just didn't want to get his clothes dirty. That's all.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Like, oh, I have this silky shirt. I don't want to ruin it.
I asked the exact same thing. I was like, why was he naked in that scene? Like, story-wise, why? Why was he naked?
Because it's more free.
Yeah,
It's for free.
you busted in his house. I guess he's like, I do what I
Yeah,
want.
that's true. You did invade his house, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So
I'll
obviously,
do what I want.
yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about the sequel a little bit later. I want to talk about the graphics. Because this game, man. Yeah, Chris, I'm going with you. Chris and Kristen, this is the best looking game I've ever seen ever.
Yeah.
Like I know you PC guys are probably like, what the fuck? look at Crisis is like no.
Yeah, all right. Well, this is easily the best.
Hey, you want to know?
This is easily the best console-looking game.
Hey, you want
I
to know
want to see.
something?
You know what, Nash? I want to see a PC game that looks this good. But anyway, go ahead, Manny.
Hey, you want to know something? Sonic Boom runs on Crisis. That looks real great. doesn't it?
Crytek.
Yes, it does.
Sonic Boom
Sonic's
is a
whole-
crisis.
Sonic Crisis, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Crisis.
I definitely think that they're capable of, definitely, of course, PCs are capable of doing it. But I'm glad.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that they really tried to push this, where they tried to push it to the level where it actually looks almost like it could be a CG movie. Like you could probably throw that in the movies and it'd be like it. Dude, it looks better than fucking what's that movie?
Beowulf?
Beowulf. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks better than Beowulf, and that's
But
like
it's
$1 million
playable.
movie.
Yeah. I was
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there like, I was like, wow, this is truly, next gen, but this is truly like, this is what people are talking about when they're talking about next gen visuals. Like,
Right.
it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Part of the, in part of the Sony kind of, the original guy who created the PlayStation, what he really wanted to do when he created the consoles, at least with the PlayStation 2, is he really wanted to get games to the point where they looked like CGI, like they looked like movie quality. And this
The motion
game,
engine.
this game, and that's part of the reason why he created the motion engine, even though it was kind of a little weird to develop for. But that was his main goal, is that he really wanted the consoles to be so robust that they could create something that looked almost like like cinematic CG or something like that, something that you would see in a movie. So this game and a lot of the other like Last of Us and stuff, they kind of go with that same sort of line of thought where it's like it's a narrative that almost looks like it could be a film or something like that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this game, looks. Oh, you want to say something, Kristen?
Oh no, I'm just agreeing. I was noticing a lot of little things like textures on the clothing and paper, and at one point he holds up a sheet of paper and it's got like an embossing or like a stamp on it, and it's an actual like depression into the paper, like things like that. The water, like little puddles of water.
The
Go ahead.
paper actually is transparent. They
Yeah.
also have, like, if you look at if their noses and their ears, they have transparencies to them, so that when the sun shines through them,
Yeah.
they kind of get reddish.
And
Like
the
the
clothes
real
too.
ear
Man.
would
Remember
get.
you telling me about the clothes, how it's kind of transparent too.
The clothes are actually semi-transparent too, especially when you have a really like hard light. If you put up a shirt and you put it in front of like a really strong light, and you can see through the shirt because you can see through the spaces between the different the fabric. So
Yeah.
literally that actually happens with their clothing. Like there's one part where I had I think we're in that big council room, and I moved the camera low to look up at the ceiling, and I noticed, oh crap, like the sun was shining through that little shoulder like fabric that he has, and you could kind of see through it and see the different lines of fabric in the fabric, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, the thing I want to say before we get to some of the other stuff, the reason obviously the game looks as good is because what you see is what you get. There's no huge open world to explore. You don't need to render all this shit. You don't need to render whatever you need to interact with. This is why God of War 3 was the best looking game on the PS3, because it only showed you that much. Uncharted, same thing. It only showed you a little bit. Oh, well, that game was a little bit more openish than that one. So that's the reason you get that stuff. And again, I don't mind that. It's like it's kind of funneling you through. And we're not gonna sit here and tell you it's not doing that. It's exactly doing that. But that's why you get graphics like that. But on that side, there were still some funky things. Like when I first started playing the game, Manny was doing share play. I walked in front of the mirrors on purpose. And Manny, you knew what I was doing. I'm like,
Yep.
okay. And we joked. Manny was like, hey, we figured out the plot twist. Galahad's a vampire because he doesn't cast any reflections. Nobody
reflections.
casts reflections. The closest you get is shadows on like metal stuff.
Yeah,
That's it.
what happens is that it's the real-time reflect. That was so some wacky kid on
Yeah.
Twitter was like, oh, there's reflections. Well, the thing
Peter
is,
Pan.
why don't they do reflections? Like, well, because real-time reflections are incredibly intensive on a system, on anything. Even PCs, it's very difficult to do these things because if you know how video games work, 3D video games work.
Which most people don't.
Which they don't. If you look, like, okay, like let's say I'm holding up this book right over here. So you see the book, right? Now the thing is, in the video game world, the only things that are getting rendered are the front of my face, the front of this book, and whatever things that you can see in the background. Anything behind my head, there's nothing there. That's how they save on memory. So they don't need to they don't fully render everything from front to back.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, to make a spot-on reflection, they would have to render the opposite side of the object in order to reflect it onto a surface, which takes a lot of time to do. So what they'll do is they kind of do they kind of fake it. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll sample the sample the area and then just flip it upside down into the water or something like that.
You could even tell they kind of I don't want to say scrimped on it, but the physics of certain stuff was just kind of left to the wayside, because a lot of the items have crazy ragdoll effects, even though the wood and you'll run into a barrel and it'll go riding up the wall somehow. God damn, are you Superman that you're kicking things 50 feet away?
Yeah, but I mean, but the thing is that it's funny because with the characters they went so detailed on it, especially with their jackets, their jackets fall really well. They're not cloth that it's done in the past where it's kind of almost some sort of sheet or something like that, which kind of blows really hard or something like that, or it's not.
I noticed that too. When you go into the hospital in the basement and there's the jackets hanging on the rack there, it's not just a flat thing with texture on it. It's it's an actual three-dimensional object, which I thought was cool.
Well, that's
something I noticed. Yeah, let me just say this real quick. I noticed that when I was in the ship, and I said this in the video. I saw the hammocks, right? I went right to the hammock, and I expected the hammock to go right through me, and the hammock actually reacted to me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, all the cloth, when you go into the brothel, the cloth, you can keep walking through that cloth doorway, and it kind of oozes over you or whatever. It kind of does that stuff. So they thought about all these sorts of things. They're trying to get it right.
Well, I appreciate whatever physics they used in there worked really well, because I was expecting, Havoc physics engine shit. When you kill somebody, they just go, oh, and then all of a sudden their knee goes over their head and whatever. No, these guys died and they look like they had weight, and you can't kick them around the floor. They go flopping everywhere like puppets. I appreciated that. Also, there was a fight in a kitchen somewhere, and I was running with Galahad, and he's knocking his head into pans. It was kind of comical. I'm like, oh, the pans move.
Yeah.
Here's a fun little thing I found out about the camera though. So I was doing the sneaking part, right? And you're in that little kitchen area, and I had the camera kind of low, and it was actually kind of touching the tables that had all kinds of food and stuff in front of it, right? And then I noticed when I was walking across it, the food was actually bumping into the camera. So in other words, literally the camera actually takes up some sort of physical space. So it can actually knock all the things off tables and things. I was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, it doesn't work with characters though, because I did have that one instance where the camera tried to go through Galahad's head, and there was oh, there's nothing inside of him.
Yeah, well, of course there's nothing inside.
Yeah, but
I mean, I think the reason why they do it is because the way they set it up is that the camera it functions in the same in other words, how Galahad, of course, cannot go through walls. I think the camera in the same way is programmed the same way, where if it bumps into a wall, it'll push itself in. It won't go through the wall. So that's the way. So the camera in some way takes up some sort of physical space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed very little to no clipping, which I was really happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I did notice clipping, I'm like, oh, okay, because that game, and that's the thing about this game, no glitches. It runs perfectly, which is a surprise now, sadly, because all games are fucked up. So I'm like, oh, there's some glitches in this game.
I found a couple of glitches, but they're so fun, weird and minor. I think again with those pots, it was another part where there was all these pots and pans piled up somewhere, and I bumped into one, and for some reason, it looked like it hit some sort of location where the lighting would change, so it would kind of flash on the ground.
Interesting.
But this was earlier on, and it was just it's not really that important. But these things, of course, especially when you have physics engines like that, it's always stuff that there's always that one question mark as to if it's going to function the way it should.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I noticed one other cool thing too. when you're walking around in the earlier parts of the game, especially in the alleyways and stuff, this really blew my mind, even though it's kind of silly. In previous gen, if you look at a window, there's usually some crappy texture mapped over it. You can't see past the window. In this, I was in alleyways and stuff, and I would peer through a window, and not only would the light go through the window, but you were looking into a room. Granted, you can't go in there, but there were times when I was actually looking into a room in a building where normally, like previous gen, it would just be mapped over with something, you know. So I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I didn't notice. I should try that next time. Obviously, like, you don't see your own reflection in that, but
no, but the environment leaves really nice. I mean, granted, what the whatever shader that they're using to create the reflections is really cool, because it looks like what they did was like they took a photo, took a shot of the opposite side of the room so that the reflection is correct on any object, but it doesn't. That's why you don't reflect in it. And you know, in the past, the way to do reflections was really kind of weird. Like, you either have like some sort of funky shader that would make everything look kind of shiny, or if you were doing, in the case if you did like a mirror or a reflective floor, what they would have to do is they literally build another room, a reverse version of the room on the opposite side, and then they load a duplicate of your character so they could show the front version of your character.
Wow.
So like, I mean, the way I figured this out was like, there's this game. Well, it's not a game, but it's called the Documents of Metal Gear Solid, and you can kind of, you know, zoom your camera through the different environments. You know, look at the big shell and all that stuff. And what you could do is, like, in some locations, I noticed that the floor was transparent. So the floor is slightly transparent, and then underneath it is like a whole other reverse side of the room that's above.
That's crazy. Yeah, the game this one didn't do too much of that, I noticed.
No, they didn't really do very many things like that.
Yeah, we're like,
it seems like they were focusing on just making the characters and whatever you could see, like, without going out of your way, to look really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like, I mean, like the thing with like the physics, like where everything's like ragdolls when you touch it. Like, sometimes it didn't seem like they really tried to, because, you know, who's gonna really run around like trying to like kick around barrels and boxes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, the last thing about the graphics, I did like the fact that, you know, it looked like a dirty game. It's like, you know, like it looked like, especially in like Whitechapel, like, you know, it looked nasty, you know. So they definitely did a good job on that. Actually, anything else about the graphics before we move on to the next thing?
Oh, you know, the one thing about it is it rarely happens in these games, but you can actually decapitate the people in the game.
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? That's actually
with the arc gun and with the shotgun. Like, there are shots of you know, some people take these really gory shots of like some guy's half of his body is blown off by a shotgun.
Manny, that was the perfect segue, because that's where I want to go to. Let's talk about the guns in the game, because I thought they were really cool. I like that they weren't too over the top. You know, like the arc gun is probably the most over the top, but you could kind of imagine that being in real life and stuff. That one I really like. I liked the crazy gun that shoots like a spray of air to knock them like senseless, and then you shoot them and stuff.
Yeah, well, like it's their little machine. It's their version of a machine gun.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'd like that. But yeah, the arc gun was cool. It's like, and if you know that one shotgun has like a wide range, dude, that thing will just blow limbs off like crazy.
Yeah, like there's like I said, there's really horrible looking shots of like dudes with like they have like a bone sticking out of their arm and all this this gore on the side. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, because you know how it usually is, especially like in a game like a Call of Duty, like you can blow somebody's head off, but you can't really blow off their arm or anything like that. They just kind of die.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the death animations in this too. Like, I remember, Manny, I was playing this last night while I was talking to you, and I shot a guy. I'm like, wait, what's going on with this guy? He was like, I shot him, and he was like, and then he falls. Like, he just stood there for a little bit. And it wasn't like a glitch. It was like you see him like trying to stay up, and then he just dies, you know? So I like that. And then, actually, jump in. What were some of your favorite guns in the game? Chris, I'm looking at you.
I did like the rifle that they get from the order, one.
That's probably the best gun they get.
Yeah, I did like the carbine rifle that you find. That one was really good because it was very accurate, and I mean the double barrel shotgun. Like once that shotgunner, once you kill him, I'm like, yes, pick this shit up. I'm running at you, motherfuckers.
What about the
Those guys
phosphorus
always try
gun?
to flank me.
Yeah.
The phosphorus gun, yeah.
Yeah, what was the big bazooka that he finds on the bridge? That shit, I wish he kept that. He
I
just
think
like
that
throws
was
it on the ground
I-
like, no, keep that shit.
Yeah, that was
I
awesome.
think the funky thing about that one is that it was air powered because it makes like this air noise, like
Yeah.
when you shoot the thing out.
Yeah, but when you hit a dude, like all I saw was blood. Like he just vaporized. Like that was
Yeah.
it. When you hit a dude with that shit, I'm like, oh my god, it's amazing. I did like the arc gun was amazing too. They just fucking explode. Like
Yeah, you
when
don't
you
even-
charge that shit up.
You don't even need to shoot. You don't even need to shoot. You just need to shoot in a general direction because it has that really long range on it, like the little range
Dude,
finder.
that's
on
how
there.
I got the trophy for like shooting from the hip. I'm like, I don't need to aim, just shoot the shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you
electricity.
just shoot it.
It'll just find them. The
Exactly.
beauty of it, it just finds them. It's so good. The thermite gun, I was
Yeah.
more impressed with that at E3 than I was using it now in the full game. Because I'm always like, son of a bitch, I'm aiming. And it's like, why is he lighting on fire? Even the
Oh,
fucking arc guns.
I actually use that thing pretty well, because like you can do two combinations of things. Like you could shoot that little thermite, the fire into something. And the other great thing is that if somebody is on fire with a thermite, you can keep throwing the liquid on there and lighting everybody else next to them on fire too, because they start to burn from the fire that you've created.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
used that in the sewers. That's how I got the burn 50 people, 15 people or something like that. So yeah, there's just like a cutoff point there, and you just you have that gun and you just throw it off there and try to get as close as possible. Just keep going.
Well, it kind of made me wish they had bigger loadouts. Like, you only get one rifle type gun, one
Yeah.
pistol.
Yeah, I wanted a bigger loadout. That'd be awesome. I really like
Yeah.
the handguns too. I typically don't like handguns in games. I like that one Magnum kind of gun you had, like the one you give to Percival. Like, dude, that thing kicks ass. Like, it's like this big Magnum gun, but it shoots like 3 shots in a row or something. It's like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I thought the handgun in that game was actually really good. But then again, I always use handguns in games.
Yeah,
Like,
and
they're
I
always
really like the sniper rifles. I thought they were good too. I think there's only one type of sniper rifle though, but I like that, and I actually used it more than any other gun because, like unlike most games, it's really effective in this. It's like pop, 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 just popping everybody.
Yeah, well, the thing is that they also have that thing where you like shoot them in the hand and then he dies.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's shooting with his hand. Shoot him in the hand. Oh, he's dead. That's his Achilles heel. Achilles, wrist or something. It's insane. Chris, what guns did you like?
Actually, I was pretty cool with the handguns too, which I was surprised at because usually handguns are terrible in games.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I was really pleased with the fact that none of the guns felt crappy. Like, they all felt useful and evenly, not evenly powered, but none of them really felt weaker than any others. So, at least to me. So, I wasn't like, oh man, I'm stuck with this gun now, or I'm stuck with that gun
Yeah.
now. Like, they felt satisfying to use, whereas like in a lot of games you pick up, there's like maybe the game will force you to use a particular type of gun in a certain part of the game. You're like, oh, I hate this gun. Like, I really didn't mind using any of them for the most part. The thermite one, I think, the one you guys were talking about that sprays the
Yeah.
stuff, it was definitely a little tricky to use. You really have to like be strategic about how you use it. But for the most part, I was pleased with the fact that none of the guns felt really, underpowered or crappy or anything like that. So
Yeah, even the shotguns I like, because I typically don't like shotguns in video games either, but in this one, they were good. Those guys died, man. Like, bam, that's it, you're fucking dead.
Yeah, most of Uncharted games, like, I've never used the shotgun.
Yeah.
It's the only weapon I've ever used.
Yeah, I don't like that one either. Nash, what about you? What are some of your favorite weapons?
I think honestly, the only 3 guns that I really liked, like even for the design, were the thermite one, the arc one, and the rocket. I thought the other ones were kind of just like I didn't really pay too much attention. I thought they were just kind of like regular, guns. But I liked the other 3 because you can tell that was like they tried to like go really in depth with the design, and like you could pick all those guns up and kind of look at them. I think the arc gun was probably my favorite just because when you shot somebody with it, like it just like you didn't know exactly what was going to happen to them. Like when they died, like their head could fall off, or their body could be like blown in half.
Yeah, it was great, man. I love that gun. But yeah, I did like the order gun, as you called it, Chris, like the normal carbine. It's like, hey, let me spray you in the face with this shit, and while you're stuttered, bam, shoot you. And I want to get to that now. The actual gun mechanics I thought were great. Like it wasn't doing anything like new, but I thought it was good. I was getting headshots like nothing in this game, man.
Yeah,
know?
Well, there was aim assist on.
Yeah, with the aim
Yeah.
assist on.
That's probably what it was.
I don't want to take it away from you, but
Yeah. Hey, don't take it away from me, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, it felt very organic as far as those types of games go. I found it actually easier to use a normal gun to get headshots than it actually was to use the stupid sniper rifle.
Yeah, I remember you
definitely.
telling me about that. Yeah, the sniper rifle was good. But one thing I have a complaint about is the cover system. Like, it works fine, like, horizontally. When you try to do it vertically, it's like, hey, let me go to that cover point. You have to literally get out of cover to go to the next. It's like, why doesn't it just automatically go to it? Like with Splinter Cell.
Like even Gears of War, the game that kind of
that popularized it.
You literally could you could go from cover to cover. You just press up, and then he just run to the next one.
Yeah, and remember, people, man, he said popularized. He didn't say invented. That's Kill Switch. Let's get that out there. You're not one guy who loves Kill Switch. What the fuck? But yeah, you're right about that. Like, at least in those games, you could still do that too. It's like, why can't I do it in this? But aside from that, I like that. It's like the battlefields were actually pretty open. Like, I would go to different places to get like different vantage points and stuff. I felt that was pretty open. It was more like it wasn't as scripted as the rest of the game was. Like okay, here's a big scene. Let's go crazy. I thought that was really well done, and I would always pick up the guns.
They did put you in a lot of enclosed spaces, like definitely when you first start the game, you start off that open big area at the top of that place, and then you kind of get through these weird little alleys. I would have liked to have been able to to walk down a bigger street. I mean, you end up at a big area at some point in there. But
yeah, I'm talking about like the action during not all of the gunfights. Most of the gunfights, they're actually
like
big areas.
Like the one in the shipyard, that was a big open space. The one that happens in front of that one kind of, it looks like a museum or something like that.
Yeah.
That one was also like a really big area to kind of have a fight in.
Yeah, and the bridge area too was nice and big. I always like doing this. Like, I like it a big area so I could just jump around and do crazy shit. So I thought that was good. I was very satisfied, and that actually, to debunk the myth, that's actually what takes up most of the actual gameplay, the gunfights. I know Torrance was talking about how he would spend like an hour in a gunfight because he played on hard. He was getting fucked up. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I played it on easy.
Really? Come on, Nash. You reviewed this shit too?
Man, I mean, I didn't say anything. I'm not saying that the enemies were easy to kill or anything.
Yeah, the enemies were stupid.
That was left out. Because I assume that on hard they're hard and on easy they're easy. But
yeah, I played on normal because that's just the way I like to play my games. But yeah, I didn't play it on hard. I need to test that out. On easy, they're retarded. It's like, really, dude, you're not even trying now.
Yeah, the only people that give you trouble are the shotgunners and like the specialists.
Oh my god, can we talk about the shotgunners? Because they were the bane of my existence. Especially the guys that were all armored up too. It's like, really, the knight is with the gun's gonna shoot me now, and you can't kill him right away. You have to like back the fuck up and like pop them. It's like, dude,
man, even on easy, trust me, even on easy, they were not the funnest to kill.
Oh man, those guys
there was one guy in the airship. He was armored up. The
when you walk in and there's the two sides that have the rooms and stuff.
Holy
oh my god!
I hid in one of those rooms to like shoot him because he got confused, and that's the only way I killed him. I was like, I'm just gonna fucking shoot you from here until you fall down.
I think that was the point at which I gave you the controller because I got really pissed.
Yeah, he kept killing you in that spot. He killed me too. I'm like, how the fuck did you kill this guy?
Yeah, if you watch my latest Block of Plays, he kills me too, that son of a bitch. He wouldn't let up.
The thing is, I actually figured out a little way around him. See, he only shows up when you go closer to the room. So what you do is you try to pick up all the guys in the room so that they're not there, and he's the only guy that you need to deal with at that point.
Oh, that's
you knock all those guys out, and then you walk into the room a little bit, and he goes, "I'm gonna get you," and then he comes out with a shotgun, and then that's when you start trying to get him. Because definitely dealing with those stupid shotgunners while you're trying to deal with everybody else shooting is really sucks. Also, the guys that have those dumb homing bombs. Those like the bombs that have that delay on them where you hit R1.
Yeah. The thermite guys are pretty bad too, man. It's like shit, because they spray you with that crap. I always had a problem with those guys. The snipers are pretty easy. It's like, okay, while you're not blinking, then I fucking shoot you in the head. Because usually in games, could be trouble, but not in this game. But the shotgunners, oh my god! Just thinking about them now, it's like. Ugh. But yeah, I thought the battles in general very, very well done. Anything else about the battles before we move on?
They were pretty. I mean, like the whole like gunfighting combat was like pretty generic. Like it was good. It was like they didn't really try to invent anything new. It was pretty generic, but that's still fine because you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't fucked up or anything.
The only thing I have this is just a video game trope. I just hate those fucking glowing ammo boxes, those shiny ammo boxes, because they instantly give away what you're going to be doing in a situation.
Right.
Like, all of a sudden you walk in a room, and what do you see in the cinematic? You see all these fucking shiny things all over the place. It's like, oh, well, we're going to have a big fight here.
We said the same thing when we were playing. We were like, oh, I guess we're getting to the end because there's all these weapons.
Yeah, it's the same. It's all like, oh, there's a room full of guns. I know what's about to happen.
It's the same. It's also the same in Last of Us as well. Like, like there's that one part where you're in the dam, right? And then you're walking through with Joel's buddy, and then you walk into this one room and you see all these fucking shiny bottles and fucking bullets and bricks and everywhere. It's like, oh, that's the room.
I love that game, but that game is really guilty of that.
I did that in the order. Like, I played You Come Out of the Armory, and then I shot a whole bunch of guys. I'm like, oh, this rifle's done. I'm going back in the room. And the guy's like, oh, he went back in the armory. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm picking this shit up now.
That's awesome. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, I just ran back there, and he actually said, he went back in the armory. I'm like, oh,
Talking shit. Oh yeah, the AI was very dumb. I felt it was really stupid.
Yeah, they kind of the thing is that they kind of just continue to do the same thing, and they never really get like the only guys that really get closer to those shotgunners. Like they never get to any point where they come after like the other guys that come after you. Like,
yeah, they don't get any like they don't care to come after you.
Yeah, even Uncharted did that, had that a little bit where eventually the guys start to come after you and try to punch you.
Right.
But
in the order. What?
Huh?
It's like, wait, why are you trying to running at me? It's like, I have a gun and you're trying to punch me. What are you doing?
It also just so happens that all the bad guys have unlimited bullets.
Yes.
That's how life goes, really.
Yeah. The bad guys have infinite bullets.
They all have infinite bullets because like you can never have I see that would be a cool moment where like you have in the stupid action movies where like a guy runs out of bullets and they throw the gun at you.
Right. In Metal Gear, they come at you with knives, man.
That's why the one criticism that Cliff Bleszinski he was talking about the game like last week, and when he was playing it, Gears of War had like the roadie run and the cover system, and he was talking about how when he made Gears of War, he made it so that the enemies had like a time delay before they eventually ran after you, so you wouldn't just be able to like camp behind cover, and he was saying that like the game would have been good if it had something to like make the enemies like a little more fiercer than they were.
Yeah, he also had a little bit of an issue with the cinematic, but that's a general thing because Cliff Bleszinski has said in the past that he doesn't really get narrative-driven games. Like it's like just give me what I need so that I can shoot some stuff.
All right. Well, I mean, like look at the games he made. So I mean, there's nothing surprising about that.
Exactly. He likes to shoot shit. That's what he does.
I did notice one kind of cool thing about the enemies when they did drops. In a lot of games, you would have enemies dropping things that were completely unrelated to like that part of the game or whatever guns you're holding or whatever. The enemies dropped like what they should be dropping, like whatever gun they had. Yeah. That's what they were dropping, or if they just had bullets on them, that's what they were dropping. Like I really appreciated that a lot.
Shit, yeah, you're right about that. I didn't realize that, but you're right. It's like, because in most games, it's like, hey, I just shot that pig. He has 57 gold in him. I was like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, pigs like gold, man. That's just the way it is.
57 gold, precisely, Or you kill a spider, it's like there's a rib cage left. It's like, okay. So, yeah, you're right about that.
The best was Dying Light zombie logic. The bigger the zombie, or the tougher they are, the more money they have.
The more money they have, yeah. It's like, okay.
I'm like, where are you keeping this, dude?
Yeah, it's like your size, tells you how rich you are. Like in life, that big motherfucker, he was rich, man. He was loaded. Had $437. Hey, Kristen, you have a bunch of notes, right? What else did you have in there?
I did. Let's see. Mostly I did this so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah, you came more prepared than the host. I didn't have fucking notes. I'm like, let's do this.
A lot of the stuff we already talked about. I talked about just I liked how things tied into actual history. We talked about like the textures and the lighting on the in terms of graphics. I will say the lighting was fantastic in this game.
Yeah.
The lighting
Yeah,
was
very well
absolutely
done.
gorgeous. Even just the way that like water reflected and stuff, like even in little puddles on the ground, or even raindrops hitting puddles or hitting the ground, like it's little things, but it kind of adds up at the end of it. It's like you can spend so much time just walking around the game and appreciating the visuals.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
And it's nice that they created their own engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
The proprietary engine, exactly.
Well, in general, Ready at Dawn likes to make their own engines. Like even the God of War, the God of War engine they made for the PSP and the one that they used for Daxter. That was their own engine that they created for those.
Mhm.
So they weren't using anything that previously existed. Like they weren't using a gimped version of the God of War engine or anything like that.
I need to
created
jump,
everything from
I need to
scratch.
jump on that after Chris and Son because you just gave me an idea because it all ties in together. But go ahead. What else you got there?
Just I really like the writing, the dialogue, the characterizations were all really solid. I wanted to find out what happened to these characters. I wanted to find out more about their world. I kept saying like the game left me wanting more, but not in a bad way. I was like, I want to see what happens next. I want to see other places in this world. And when Tony, when you posted to their Facebook, I went and looked and I saw the concept art of the different locations, and I was wondering, I was like, okay, either a bunch of stuff got cut from the game that we were supposed to see, or this is for future, future stuff. Because this stuff is all really interesting. It's really good. So yeah, and I mean, the only other stuff that I kind of made note of was like, I like the little Easter eggs, like the little sack boy that you find.
Yeah.
And the
like-
Kratos poster.
That I didn't catch.
Yeah, it says what is it? It says Kratos cycles, ride like a god.
Yeah. It was
And
like a
then
big unicycle.
Yeah, it's
Not unicycle, it's the one with the
it's the big it's the one with the big wheel.
Yeah,
And they all have fun names too. Like one of them is called the Rhino. They all have goofy names on them too.
I also thought that first shot where you see a werewolf was very much an homage to the first zombie cutscene in Resident Evil,
right.
which I thought was cute. I was like, that's nice. I like that.
Did you like the part where the werewolf dies and he whimpers like a dog?
Yeah, I was like, he's making doggy noises.
I also there was also the fact that they kind of when you kill them they actually kind of morph back. They don't stay like just dead wolf things. They just
and I like how the reflection goes on their eyes too. It's like that dog kind of eye reflection they have.
it's like kind of night eyes. Yeah.
I was wondering if I guess it's kind of implied that they can shift at will. Like it's not a thing that sets it off.
Yeah, I think
So
they
that's
can go,
kinda
oh
neat.
shit. Yeah.
My only real gripes with the game were like I just too much quick time. Like I don't mind it in and of itself, but it was constant, and I was like, okay, like enough. Like not for every fight, not for like you guys were saying about the end battle with the last guy, and I was like, honestly, like really, like can't we just have a fight? And I understand why they did it for cinematic reasons, but I was like, come on, guys, like I just want. Chris was playing through that part, but I was like, come on, guys, like I want something a little more exciting than this, like, I don't hate QuickTime events. I'm kind of bored with them at this point. Everyone's using them, so I'm kind of like,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure after this point they're not going to use them in any more games.
I didn't realize.
Right?
I still feel like Quantic Dream, the guys that made Heavy Rain and stuff. I mean, they're obviously working on a new game. I'm sure they're going to do QuickTime events.
Oh yeah, they're not. No one's going to stop those guys.
Oh no, yeah. And I didn't realize just how long the cutscenes were until I looked up a YouTube of like all of them put together. I was like, wow, that's a lot of cutscenes.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours almost. Cutscenes, yeah.
Yep. And again, I get why they did it, because they were trying to cram a lot of story into one game, and I can appreciate that. I was just like, I think in the interest of time and pacing, some of them could have been cut down a bit. Especially, there were a lot of scenes where they were sitting around and talking, and just could have been
You
a little
pulled the
shorter.
Star Wars. They're talking about
Yeah,
trading.
yeah, and not that I didn't enjoy, watching the cutscenes, but I think for the interest of time, it could have been cut down a bit. So, and just the fact that there's not a huge amount of replayability in the game, something to pick up after you do your first run of the game would be cool. But, what can you do?
Yeah, like once you get the platinum, you're kind of done with it. Like me personally, I didn't
Yeah.
mind that. It's like, okay, cool, I got the platinum, I'm done, I'm happy. I'm glad they didn't cut stuff from the game to put it in DLC because they haven't mentioned DLC at all for this game. You notice that, right? Like there's
I
like,
thought I heard something about
story
DLC.
DLC. Like I know there's DLC for like clothes or whatever, but there's not like
There's the
story
Knights.
DLC.
Well, they call it the Knights Order DLC, where you have like 3 different outfits for.
Maybe
Galahad.
that's what I heard.
Wait, there's DLC
I
for
don't know.
clothes?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you
Like horse armor.
Yeah, it's like you literally like you can have Galahad in 3 different alternate outfits, and then it also comes with a specific gun. So like you have one of them comes with an arc gun, one of them comes with the other gun. That's what that armory option is inside of the menu. That's for that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
My biggest kind of parting thought with the game was just that I'm not like a lot of people where I don't care for open world games. I'm very much I don't play multiplayer stuff very often, so I was kind of happy that it was just it is what it is. It's a single player linear. I'm probably in the minority at this point.
Not in this room. Not in this room.
But, no, I know some of you guys are definitely in that boat, but I was perfectly happy just going through the game. Like I wasn't like, man, I want to go over here, I just wanted to further the story and everything, and I was happy with that. I was happy it was pretty simple. There wasn't a lot of there was no crafting, there wasn't any upgrades or anything. It's just here's what you're doing,
Right.
and it made sense for the story.
Yeah,
so
I appreciate
was really
it.
happy.
I appreciate it because I was talking to Manny about this. Like, why does every game have to have RPG elements? Why does everything need a skill tree? Why do we need crafting? Why do we need all this stuff?
Exactly.
Like, we don't need that
Yeah.
stuff. I miss this. I'm like, remember the days where it's like, hey, you could pick up a gun and you use the gun and it's cool. Nowadays, like, here's the gun. By the way, you could level it up now. It's like, why do I need to level up every fucking gun? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, I imagine what they do is like, here's the gun. Let's take away shit from the gun so you could level it up later. It's like, I don't want to deal with that shit. Just give me the gun. Let me shoot stuff.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
I
coming-
kind of
yeah.
felt that way about Dead Space 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't
Like,
want to
okay,
deal with
every
that
gun.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
was
come
like,
on.
I mean, it was okay. It was fun, but I didn't have to have it, And
Yeah, it's not necessary. I totally
I was
agree with you
also
on that one.
just really happy that we got a new IP.
Yes,
Like,
a
thank
new
God.
IP. It's not based on nothing. It's just new. Actually, I want to touch on what Manny said because I think that this may have been the reason why this game was short, and it was short. We're not going to say it was a long game. You think they just they worked on the engine so much they just didn't have time for some of this shit?
Well, I'm gonna say this. It took them about 5 years to do it.
Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, in general, developing newer engines takes a long time. You look at how long the Fox engine that Hideo Kojima has been working on. Now, that game, that engine had been worked on all the way back to the Peace Walker game, and
Yeah.
Metal Gear and like maybe not long after Metal Gear Solid 4. So that's a long time to get it ready. So I definitely think it's like, the first part of it was just trying to get their engine, right.
Yeah, and that leads me to the closing part, the sequel, because I predict that especially due to all the complaints the game's getting, that I think we're gonna all that stuff we just finished praising about how this short and all this stuff. I think that's gonna be done. I think it's gonna be like Assassin's Creed all over again. Remember first Assassin's Creed? Very bare bones. You just get the story and that's it. Assassin's Creed 2, you get this huge ass world with a million things. And I predict it's going to happen. And I'm not saying I want it to happen. I just predict it's happening because they want to make a successful game. I'm not saying this game is not going to be successful, but they want to give people what they want, so to speak. So I think they're going to sacrifice some of that stuff.
Well, I mean, okay, I look at this game as the difference between Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2. Uncharted 1 was a very, it was a very simple experience. It gave you, I mean, how long was that game? That game was
about 8 hours, yeah.
Yeah, that game was about as long as The Order. So it got all those things out of the way. So I think in general that the next one, if they do manage to get the next Order game, I think they're just going to kind of expand on that, like really create those kind of, those kind of big set pieces or whatever they want to create for this new game.
I think that may actually work better for this game. Instead of making like Assassin's Creed, make it like Uncharted 2. You cut down on some of the quick time events, add more of the shooting stuff.
Or adding unique situations with the shooting stuff, because also Galahad is way more grounded. Like, he doesn't go jumping around like Drake because he's not a platforming dude. He shoots the shit out of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He's really good at it.
Drake shoots the shit at everything too.
But I mean, Drake has a jump button. Galahad does not. He just kind of they give you a prompt and he eventually goes up onto something.
Yeah. So you know what? I like that. Let's go. So if they do make a sequel, which here's the thing, I have a theory about this. I think Sony is not really like other companies. I think they will like, hey, you know what? We're gonna give you guys another shot.
Here's the thing.
And the game is not, I don't know how it's doing sales-wise, but I'm not hearing about it flopping or anything.
No, I mean, it was in the top. It was, for as far as the European, Europe and England.
I could see.
It was up there. It was up there. So, I think, people might definitely might pick it up. I mean, granted, the big kind of outcry of what the game was kind of screwed everything over, but I definitely think the game will make money. I mean, here's the thing. They kept the Resistance franchise around.
Yeah, and that didn't do well, yeah.
Resistance, they made, 4 Resistance games?
Yeah, 3 or 4, I think, yeah.
Yeah, the PSP one, yeah.
And the PSP, and the PSP one. So, like, they made 4 of those Resistance games, and they, in general, never did very well.
Right. You know what I think it is that, like, it's nothing against Sony or anything, but they kind of need, like, exclusive franchises.
Yeah.
So I can see them keeping this, but I mean, I wouldn't mind. I like that it was just like a single player experience, and I'm not saying that like I want a multiplayer, but I wouldn't mind if they kind of like flesh it, like made like a little bit open world, only because there's like so much of the story that they can get into that you kind of need like a little more of an open world. You know what I mean?
I think if they do it like Uncharted, where it's like big spaces and stuff, I think that will actually work better, because that way you don't have to sacrifice the Let's be real. The reason this game looks as good is because it's tight. If you make it a huge open world, the graphics ain't gonna look that good. That's the
thing. Now that you have the engine in place, you can do a little more.
You can, but if you make it like Uncharted, you don't have to sacrifice as much.
Right.
But also, you got to expand on the story stuff. If you pick up anything, you need to put something in a codex or something similar so you can look at it, or just have the characters talk about it more in the background. So you're right about it. You could I guess you could make it a little bit more Uncharted-ish, but still keep the Order stuff where it's still a cinematic game. But yeah, I predict the QTE stuff will probably be toned down. And I'm guessing the cinemas will probably be toned down as well. Put you more in direct control of it. But they definitely have a good base to launch a franchise, because like Christian, like you said, look at those fucking shots from all around the world. Could you imagine like a globe-trotting version of the game? It's like, hey, we're going to go now. Yeah.
I think that's exactly where it's leading. I think they gave you a little taste of what this world is like, and now it's going to be like, it could be a really thrilling, like, race. I mean, it's very heavily implied that that's, if they do another one, that's where it's going, because they've already said, oh, all these shipments have already gone out, and this is already happening. And when he has his little post-credits scene, he's kind of acting like, all right, I have a quest now. I'm going to go to all these places, and so that would be great. I would love to see that.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, you could definitely see that happening, because they don't have to worry about the engine anymore. All that stuff's done. Now they can just focus on the actual game. I don't know when development's going to start. I think it's pretty safe to say there's going to be a sequel to it. So if they start maybe this year, release it like 2 or 3 years from now, I think we'll get something really good. And I predict people are going to be like,
get a sequel. Unless it bombs, or unless Sony, finds like another successful franchise to like market.
Yeah, but like you said though, they kept Resistance around forever, so I don't think they're gonna ditch it like that. I think the sequel will probably be what they intended. Manny, you're talking about this. They had a lot of ideas, but they couldn't really put them into the game, right?
There was a lot of ideas and things that they said that they wanted to put in this version of the game, in this one, but they either ran out of time or whatever. So I'm sure definitely, that they'll definitely put whatever things, bits of tech and story stuff into this one that they couldn't have put in the original one.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, I don't think even though it kind of looks a little bit maybe bleak for the franchise as of now, I do think that they'll stick with it. I mean, they've stuck with what is it, Killzone for all those
and Resistance, yeah.
and Resistance for as long as they did. So I mean, those Killzone does okay. It doesn't do great, but they're still making those games.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's just Sony needs franchises that are exclusive to the PlayStation, because I mean, look at the games that they've kind of been advertising. Recently, it's been sort of like NBA and Destiny and stuff, things that like you can play somewhere else, but they need something that they can be like, you can only play this right here.
That's kind of what got them through. I mean, that's why the PlayStation 2 did as well as it did. I mean, there were so many great experiences to be had that were exclusive to, you had like the great cartoony platformers and everything, and you had like, there's just so much stuff to play, and that was kind of why the PS2 was so popular. There's so many good exclusive games for it.
Yeah, a lot of third-party exclusives too. Let's not forget about that. So yeah, I think that they could definitely, like I said, they have a good base to build upon. And obviously now Galahad, he probably wouldn't even be called Galahad in the other one. He's like, I'm a knight.
He'll be called Batman.
He's Batman.
Bruce Wayne.
Like seriously, you're Batman now. And yeah, I predict you're going to take it outside of London too. Like you could probably start there and then just go all across the world and actually give you a history of the entire world. Chris, what about you? What do you want to like see in the sequel and stuff?
Just cut down the cinematics just a bit and make those phonographs mean something. Like that's BioShock storytelling. Don't make us stop. Like just let him play the shit. No lullabies. Make it integral of the story, because there's so much in there that we want to learn about. Like I want to, you see Lord Hastings, fucking Jack the Ripper and stuff. Give us more of that. Give us more of the company. Like he goes in the company place, he finds a quote from some old guy. It's like, what the fuck is this doing in here? Why isn't this having information about all this shit?
Or you find that one paper that has the weird wolf head drawn on it, and you're like, what is that? You can't
there were papers that had like on the back like a raven's face drawn on, and it's like, what does that mean? Nothing.
Yeah. Please make all that stuff readable, because there's so much lore you have in there. Like, build all that stuff up. Now, like you said, they don't have to worry about the engine and stuff anymore. Focus on that story. Like, fill in all those little gaps. Like, I want everything that Galahad picks up to be informative.
Yes, exactly. By the way, I need to throw this out. Who was that old man that Percival was talking to? Remember, like, Galahad was like, who the fuck was that? And he was like, I'll tell you later. And then he dies. And we don't know who the fuck he was talking about.
That's who he was.
That old guy shows up later on when you're in the bed.
Oh yeah, you see, I don't know. I mean, did he tell you anything? Like, oh yes, we were talking about this.
No, he's
just there.
He
says he'll call upon him.
Yeah, it says like when you need help, you call upon me. Usual bullshit.
Yeah, he said he would call. He said he would call upon Galahad if Galahad lived through this.
Yeah, they need to expand on that, man.
I was making fun of him. I was like, oh look, it's Ezio. You get saved by Ezio.
Hey, you can look at me.
I'm Ezio. I'm gonna save you.
I'm gonna save you.
I said it was. I was like, hey, I wonder if that's actually Arthur. Arthur Pendragon.
Oh, whoa!
Oh, that's more deep stuff.
Yeah.
Yo, man, you blowing my mind. Yeah, and then
because remember they said that the order is the order is actually they're pretty semi-immortal, so why wouldn't Arthur Pendragon be still alive?
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if they're going to bring the whole Avalon stuff into it, That'd be interesting.
They could.
But I think if they do it, it'll be, like, more grounded. It won't be, like, super, like, Oberon and all that other stuff, But that'd be pretty cool. And I want to see more supernatural. Like, I want less dudes with bowler hats and more vampires and werewolves. That's the shit I want to kill,
Well, I definitely think, like, I don't remember if you guys were the ones who said this or not, but I remember after, when we went to see Godzilla, and you guys were like, it felt like a setup for further stories.
Yeah.
Like, that movie specifically felt like a setup for more story later. That's how I felt about this game. I was like, this was a taste. This was just kind of to get your feet wet in this world, and there's going to be much more to come. That's kind of how I felt about this game.
Yeah, hopefully you're right, and that's the case. And yeah, I don't know when the next game. I mean, you know how video games are; they're not gonna announce shit until like later on. You know, unless you're Square Enix, of course. But they're not gonna announce anything yet. But I hope we get a sequel, and I think the sequel will be quote unquote the game everybody wanted. I don't know what people were expecting from the game. It's like 2:33 aspect ratio. It's gonna be very cinematic. I wonder if they're gonna get rid of that because I personally liked it.
I mean, a lot of people don't like. I have a friend of mine who doesn't like letterbox games, and I don't mind them like you. I don't really mind them either. But there are some people that dislike it.
Yeah, I know. They're probably gonna get rid of that though. Hopefully, they'll give you the option at least.
I don't care like one way or another. Like I'm not a fan of it, but I'm not not a fan.
Yeah. Kristen, you gonna say something?
Oh no, I liked it too. I thought it was really cool. I saw someone took a photo. They had a really, really widescreen TV, and they showed what granted, not everyone's going to experience it that way, but they showed what the game looked like. I think that was also on their page for the game, that this guy just put this photo, and it looked gorgeous on a really widescreen TV. And, like you guys said, I think it would be cool if they gave you the option. Don't force it, but, having the option would be great.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to show up, but somebody did the Zelda thing. It's like he's like, Zelda's a prostitute? I like that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they kind of like weird little things. It's like it's Zelda. There's a person named Zelda in that.
Oh world. yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
But so yeah, as far as the sequel goes, I think it'll happen. I think it'll be really cool. Like, okay, like this is the reason you want to buy a PS4 now, And this game right here, just to wrap it up on that, this is a game that's obviously not for everybody. If you like, bigger open world games, if you like 1,000,000 hours of replayability, it's not for you. But if you like scripted games that don't have all that filler stuff, you should definitely check this out because as far as like the technical stuff goes, it's like wow, it's fucking. Crazy,
here's the thing: if you have it, this is even though it's like a year off, this is kind of one of those ones that kind of shows. It's one of those games that actually shows why you have these consoles. Like
yeah.
There's always that one game when the consoles come out that everybody's like, oh shit, that's the one. That's what makes it. That's what these games should look like. And I definitely think that this game is one of those games where it's like. Okay, say what you will about the actual game, but if you do really want to have one of those things where you just show it to somebody,
right?
You want to be one of those guys that shows off. You're like, yo, man, on my TV.
On my TV.
You want to be like that.
TV.
With the order. The order is definitely a way, something to show.
Yeah, and I didn't think about that, but you're right. Like every gen, you always get that spotlight game. Like, oh man, look at this shit. We didn't really have that this gen, like no game was like, oh my fucking god,
Yeah, you can't say that the game, like what was it? The Knack really did it. It was or any of those other games that that came out for the first year, during launch were really showed what the console could do.
Yeah, I mean like Infamous Second Son came close, but it's still not like. You know what I'm saying, right? It's not like, oh my fucking god. It wasn't like Assassin's Creed was back in the day. It was like, oh, okay, this is serious now. This is like next gen, or Metal Gear Solid 4 is like, okay, I need to buy this just because it looks fucking insane. Nothing like that this gen. This is finally it. This is the game's like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like this before.
Right.
But yeah, but obviously some people, they want mileage, and I understand that. That's fine. You have $60, you can't really buy too many games, and you need to get as much out of it as possible. This game ain't gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the thing about video games. There's games for everybody. If you want to bang for your buck, you buy like something like Dragon Age, and you could put like 150 hours into it and still be good. Or if you want like just a story, then you pick something like this up, or The Last of Us, where it's only like 15 hours probably, and then that's it.
Yeah, and there are people out there that have played The Last of Us like 8-10 times. They didn't even touch the multiplayer,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know why
that's
you would
something
play
I
that
don't
game that
understand.
much.
I can never play games over and over. Even
Well,
like
I've done it. Like Metal Gear, like every Metal Gear I've played at least like 10 times each. But with The Last of Us specifically, I love The Last of Us. Love it. I can't play that game. I can't play that game. It's too heavy. Too heavy. Christian,
yeah,
we talked
I
about
think
this
I've played
before.
it. I think
that
I've
was
played
like-
it 3 times.
That was like
And
what I
you've
was
lost, and
saying
you
on
lost
Twitter.
a piece of your soul every single time.
Yes.
That was like
I
what I was
borrowed-
saying. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I was
go
gonna say I borrowed your copy and I played it, and then I got my own
Mhm.
copy, and I think I played it like 2 more times, and now I'm like, okay, I'm good for a while.
Yeah, it's
And,
like,
that,
no.
and by the way, after I finished that game and let our buddy Jen borrow it, and then you borrowed it after that, that's the only time I ever played that game. I have not gone back to it. I've turned it on 1 or 2 times, and I'm like, I don't feel like it. Like,
Yeah.
I still haven't played. I keep saying I still haven't played Left Behind.
Yo, man, I'm telling you, it's a little bit
Oh,
lighter.
it's so good.
Yeah, it's
So-
it's fucking great, you know.
It's
But
so good.
this game I can see replaying a couple times because it's fun, you know. It's definitely not like.
Can you
dreary or
skip the cinematics on the second second
No,
round around?
you cannot. Nope. You have to
Oh.
Oh
do that.
really?
Yeah. I wish it would have given you an option. Like, let me skip the cinemas the second time around. The first time around, I understand because it is a cinematic game, but let me at least skip them the second time around. Nope, nothing like that.
That's kind of unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual. It's like, come on, guys. I just want to shoot shit. You know, I want to shoot that shotgunner in his fucking stupid face. Oh, and when I did that, it was beautiful, man, because this guy's running at me with a shotgun. It's like, all right, buddy, bam, dead. But when he has the helmet, I was like, fuck. You know, I got to run, like, around this guy. Hopefully he won't kill me, because, dude, if he hits you twice, that's it. You're done. You're done, son. You know, I think that's pretty much it for this game. Any final thoughts anybody wants to throw in before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, this is probably the longest spoiler alert we've ever done. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
like usually like an hour. Like I think we're about approaching out 2 hours, but you know, whatever. This is the I was supposed to say the Last of Us. This is the order that needed to be done. And this is the second one for games. We usually just do movies. And as far as movies go, what will we be doing next? We're definitely gonna do Age of Ultron eventually. Maybe Chappie if enough of us see it, because man, you know what happens? We plan some of this shit and it just falls
Yeah,
apart.
it kind of falls through. But
Yeah, except for Marvel movies and comic book movies, we always seem to get our shit together.
it's just I think probably the next thing would probably be Chappie, and I don't know I haven't looked at what any of the other things that are coming along.
They're not coming out. It's just Chappie and Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, there's always those kind of surprise films. Like, we do see, I did see The Kingsman, which is one of those kind of films, that we would usually go see.
Yeah. Galahad.
Yeah. Reloading.
All right, so let's wrap this up. I don't have my little notes here, so follow us, Throwdown at Throwdown Show on Twitter. Coalition, obviously, Dice with the Turntable, the co-op. I don't know where the new co-op is. Did they have a new co-op? I don't know. Baby and the Beer, check out those podcasts because they're fucking cool. And we'll be back for Throwdown. I don't know what the main subject is going to be this week. It'll probably be something related to the order, because the game, the conversation never ends, people. So
you have Alien to talk about.
What happened?
You have Alien to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that shit. That's very interesting. I know Chris is happy about that. No,
I am
Alien,
too.
buddy. Yes. All right, so let's wrap it up. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Kristen Carella.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yay. Glad you liked it. All right, Emilio Lopez.
Gonna have me some black water.
There's nothing in there, by the way.
No, there's nothing in there.
It's just blood.
Chris Seeley
Hey, take care, everyone.
and Anthony Nash.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, guys, later.